Committee, 13th October. Sorry, I'll go on the agenda. Item number 1, apologies for absence.
All members are present, Chair.
For the members, any declarations of interest, please note A and B. We have none. Right, okay. I'll go to item number 3 now, which is the application for variation to the premises license to be granted under Licenses Act 2003. And thank you very much for that. I'll hand over now to Councillor Sister Simon Jones.
Thank you, Chair. And Iron, are you taking this report? Yeah?
I am, yeah.
Okay, over to you then.
Lovely. Thank you. Good morning, all. The matter before you is an application to vary the premises licence for the White Horse Inn in Tonyrodden. The application was submitted to the Licensing Authority on the 20th of August this year, and in accordance with procedure, the responsible authorities, as detailed within Section 13.4 of the Licensing Act 2003, were consulted on the application. An advertisement was placed in the legal notices section of the Merthyr Express, and notices were displayed at the premises and on the council's website in respect of the application. The full details of the application can be found at Appendix A to the report, but a breakdown is provided at paragraphs 3.2 and 3.3 of the report. The premises is already the subject of a premises licence, details of which are provided at paragraph 3.7 of the report. During the consultation period, representations were received from South Wales Police, the Council's Environmental Health Department and Trading Standards in their capacities as responsible authorities. These are attached at Appendices B, C and D to the report. Further representations were received from residents in the vicinity of the premises in respect of the application, and these can be found at Appendix E to the report. Members should be aware that whilst all points in the responsible authorities' representations are deemed as relevant, not all the details within the residents' objections are, and care must be taken when considering them. All parties to the hearing need to be made aware that the provision of live and recorded music is exempt from licensing between the hours of 0800 and 11 p.m. daily, provided the premises are open for the sale of alcohol for consumption on the premises. This would mean that should the beer garden be added to the premises licence, this area could be used for live and or recorded music between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. daily without the need for any permission and without any conditions being attached to the licence. Section 6 of the report provides information in relation to any mediation that has occurred in respect to the application. The applicant has agreed to the conditions requested by Trading Standards be added to the licence. It has also been agreed that the amended timings requested by South Wales Police and Environmental Health are put in place, save for the live music indoors, which has now been covered with the exemption I just mentioned. However, this agreement is not binding, as the committee's discretion has now been engaged. The committee is to determine the application as it has been applied for in Appendix A. The subcommittee must have regard to the Secretary of State's guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act, and particular attention is required of the paragraph stated in 7.1 of the report. Section 1.9 from the guidance states that the guidance is binding on all licensing authorities, but allows them to depart from it if they have good reason to do so and can provide full reasons. Every application must be considered on its own merits and in accordance with the Council Statement of Licensing Policy. Section 1.16 relates to conditions attached to premises licence, and of note, they should not be standardised, they should be proportionate, justifiable and capable of being met, and cannot seek to manage the behaviour of customers once they are beyond the direct management of the licence holder and their staff, but may impact on the behaviour of customers in the immediate vicinity of the premises or as they enter or leave the premises. Sections 8.35 to 8.37 of the Secretary of State's guidance relate to beer gardens. Section 9.44 and 10.10 advise in relation to determining the actions that are appropriate for the promotion of licensing objectives and their proportionality. It is imperative that the licensing authority ensures the factors which form the basis of its determination are limited to consideration of the promotion of the licensing objectives and nothing outside these parameters. Conditions should be determined on a case-by-case basis, and conditions should not be used to implement a general policy in a given area, such as the use of CCTV, polycarbonate drinking vessels, or ID scanners where they would not be appropriate to the specific premises. Licensing authorities and responsible authorities should be alive to the indirect costs that can arise because of conditions. Sections 10, 13 and 10.14 advise in relation to the hours of trading and confirm that the licensing authority must not impose predetermined licensing opening hours without giving individual consideration to the merits of each application. And Chapter 16 is in relation to the deregulation of live and recorded music. Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council's licensing policy, as Section 4, details that licensing law is not a mechanism for the general control of antisocial behaviour by individuals once they are beyond the direct control of the person holding the premises licence. Section 7 deals with duplication of other legislative requirements, and Section 8 is in relation to live music and dancing, and the licensing authority is aware of the need to avoid unnecessary or disproportionate measures that could deter live music. Section 14 of our policy states that there is no presumption in favour of lengthening licensing hours, but applicants are encouraged to consider staggering their operating hours in comparison to neighbouring premises to avoid concentrations of patrons leaving premises at the same time. Section 19 provides details of the licensing authority's expectations in relation to the operating schedule, which forms part of the application in respect of crime and disorder. And Section 21 provides our expectations in relation to public nuisance. Appendix B of our policy provides pools of conditions in relation to crime disorder and public nuisance. So the options available to the subcommittee are: 1, to grant the application to vary the premises licence as it is applied for; 2, to grant the application to vary and modify the conditions of the licence by amending, omitting or adding to them as they deem necessary for the promotion of the licensing objectives; or 3, to reject the whole or part of the application to vary. Chair, members.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Simon?
Thank you, Chair. Okay, Nyron, there's a lot in that report for everyone to consider. I think, having read the objections from the residents in particular, I think the issue is it's the additional hours. If you crystallise it, it's down to the additional hours that are being sought. You mentioned that there had been some mediation and that the applicant had agreed to the conditions and the times suggested by South Wales Police and Public Health. Mr. Lewis, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lewis Owen, you are, aren't you? Yeah.
No, Owen Lewis.
Owen
Sorry.
Lewis. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Yeah. Okay. Is that correct? You know, I mean, you've seen the police's objection, and that's in the papers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in there, I've been looking through, and this may be something that Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Crawley hasn't seen. It's in the papers, and I refer to it now. The police are suggesting, South Wales Police propose amendments to the applied timings. So obviously Mr. Lewis has applied for certain timings, and you've seen those. Yep.
Yep.
And it says South Wales Police propose amendments to these timings, and they've set out below what they consider to be the appropriate times.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis, are you happy with those times suggested by the police, save for the music? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't think we will hear from the residents, but I think we can we could now maybe at this point then, so everyone knows what we are talking about, okay? Because that's all well and good that the applicant is agreeing to the police's objections, but of course we've got the residents' objections. So I mean, we have to take that into account. So for everyone's purposes, if we go to the police's objection, can you just read out, basically, save me doing it, what the agreed times are now then? Because we got Mr. Lewis's first times. They're coming back from that. So what are we looking at now in particular?
Right. Okay. So for live music, recorded music and dance, it will be from opening time to 11 p.m. because they're not licensable activities.
Right. Okay. But the police have mentioned 21, but of course
it can't be done.
That doesn't matter. Right.
No.
Okay. So just so you're clear, Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Crawley, the police have said that live music should be 12 till 9. Okay. But they can't insist upon that because the way the legislation has been amended says that you don't need a license to have music until 11. All right. And that's not something that we can consider today either. Right. So 11 is the time, and Mr. Lewis isn't looking to go over 11, so therefore we can't bring it back. We can't bring it back to 9. We have no powers to do that. Do you understand that? It's a strange setup because we used to have that power. Do you understand that?
Yes,
Well, I
yes,
fully
understand
understand
that.
it, yeah.
Okay.
I fully understand it.
Mr. Crawley?
Yes, I understand it, yes.
Yeah, it's an amendment to the Licensing Act 2003 that says, you know, if you're below a certain, I think it's 500 people in Ireland, if you've got less than 500 people and you're playing live or recorded music that stops before 11, you don't need a license. Now, that doesn't mean you can go hell for leather and have you know, Led Zeppelin turn up there on a Thursday night. Because if that were to happen, there would be noise nuisance, and then Garion from Public Health would get involved, right? And if Garion thought, hold on, this is unacceptable, he can put a review in. Now, once somebody puts a review in, whether it's the police or Public Health, then the licensing committee can put conditions on. I'm right there, Nigel, aren't I?
Yes.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
So it's not an open-ended sort of permission for Mr. Lewis to say, right, I'm okay till 12 now, look out, right? You can't do that because there's the Environmental Protection Act, which says that you mustn't cause a nuisance, okay? And if we do get complaints, and this is where Mr. Lewis has to be, you know, insensible, if we do get complaints, we can then start bolting on these additional conditions and bringing times back to 9, to 8, or even stopping it, all right? So I know that it's retrospective in many respects, which I know to residents is almost, you've almost got to have something go wrong to get an action, where, you know, I'm sure you'd like to be able to say, look, the police are saying 9, let's knock it on the head at 9. And I'm sure, Mr. Lewis, you're not looking to do music till 11 every night in any event, is that right?
Well, for the last few weeks, we've had artists in, and how I've looked at the pub is, well, if I was living next door as a resident, how would I like to be treated? And so all the artists we've had so far have finished at 10:30 p.m. and there's been no noise complaints. And Mr. O'Brien will verify, I've gone round all the residents in the street, most of the residents, sorry, and I've said, any problems, let me know, I'll address it, and I'll try and solve them. And Mr. O'Brien's been tidy with it, and we've had no complaints or anything.
Okay, Mr. O'Brien, one thing, I read your letter of representation, and in that, I think you said at one point your garden is 2 meters from the beer garden.
Yes, it is. It's 2 meters from there, but it's not a beer garden as such, right? It's
no, I know.
It's a brick and boulder amphitheatre. It's not a garden.
All right,
it's not a garden. It's a brick and boulder amphitheatre. So it resonates noise.
Yeah. Okay. Because if you look at Appendix 5, there's a little plan there which Aniron has drafted, and what number are you? Number 7, isn't it?
Number 7, yes.
Well, on the plan we've got, that's quite some distance from the beer garden. I'd say it's near.
No, I said my garden. If you measure the top of my garden to where the amphitheatre is, it's 2 meters. The top of my garden. Otherwise, it's just the width of a house. But my next door neighbours, who are Vietnamese, they do complain about they come noisy there, whatever, but they cannot communicate.
I see.
So they can't put a complaint in or anything like that, but because they can't communicate. But they're fine, they're lovely people, you know. But they've got problems with that as well. And my next door neighbour up is away, and the next door neighbour are away. So I am here.
Yeah, but I can see. Have you seen the plan at Appendix?
I have, yes. I've seen the plan, yeah.
Yeah, but number 7, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying, because when I'm looking at it, number 7 is the other side of the road.
Yeah, no, I was looking at that, and I think somebody had made a mistake. It would be a good idea if before you made any decision, you was to have a site visit.
I think,
and then you could have it clear in your mind then.
I am clear. I had a look on Google Earth yesterday, if that helps.
Right.
And I'm sure I'm not from Merthyr, but our councillors are, and I think they got local knowledge. That's the reason why this task has been given to councillors. But okay, I wonder if I can just put up the plan a sec, so you can show us where you are now. I don't know whether this is going to work. So I'm not particularly good on this. Has that come on to everybody?
Yeah, I got to
You see the
Yeah.
plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you can see the white horse, and I can see my cursor there. That's the pub itself, isn't it? That's the premises, and then you got the, as Mr. O'Brien calls it, the amphitheatre there. Mr. Lewis calls it the beer garden, right? So we
Yeah,
call
well,
it.
no,
All right.
right.
Yeah,
So-
and we got your house, Mr. O'Brien, marked at the top of there. That's wrong, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where are you then?
can you see my plan? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But
I can see that's the pub.
That's number 8, and I'm there, number 7.
All right. Okay, so you're
That's
right.
number 8. That's number 7. So the Vietnamese are living there, and I'm living there.
I see. Okay. Okay. I'll come off that. Are we all back now?
As I say, a site
Yes.
visit would be better for you, and you could understand then where the noise resonates at the rear of the property.
Okay. Well, that's an option open. But Chair, are you aware of the premises?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
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 How about you, Malcolm? You're on mute. You're on mute, mate. Malcolm, you're on mute.
Sorry, apologies. Yeah, I've driven past the pub, so I know where it is, but I've not actually visited it, or I'm not aware of the actual location itself.
And
Have you got
David?
John Thomas there? He's
Yeah.
a regular.
Yeah, is he? John
Yeah,
isn't there.
I'm familiar with the pub and the area myself. Yeah, I've lived in the
Yeah, it's
town
it's
for over
clearly,
40 years.
yeah, it's on Toyn Hill, and it joins on to residential premises right next door and across the road and on the hill as well. I think we're okay with that. Okay, so essentially, as I say, we are talking about the reduced hours, save for the music, which we can't do anything about. So based upon those, let's forget about the music for the time being. So we're talking about, let's go back to these hours.
Yeah. So
Appendix 2. Let me go. Hold on a second now.
Yeah.
Okay, so the police are proposing, let's forget live music, which is the first one. Recording music, we can't do anything about that. Dance again, that's the same for that, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. Late night refreshment, you're okay until 12 there, aren't you? You don't need a license until 12.
Yeah, it's from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. There's provision of hot food or drink. So even if they wanted to do a cup of coffee at 11:05, you would need a late night refreshment license for that. So what they've got agreed with the police is Sunday to Thursdays midnight, and then Friday and Saturday midnight.
And that would be for food, yeah?
Hot food, hot drink.
Mr. Lewis, what are you planning to do in relation to food? Are you planning to serve until 12?
No. Just the alcohol part. With the food, we haven't got food facilities anyway. It was just so that special events, I don't know, like the rugby, they expect, I don't know, curry and chips, or that's all the food license we wanted to cover, really.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be at 12, would it? That would be during half time, wouldn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So in
Yeah,
reality,
Sorry,
that's not-
it's not just food, it's the hot drink. So if they wanted to provide a cup of coffee to somebody after 11 o'clock at night, they would need this on the license.
Okay, dog. Okay. Then we've got indoor sporting events. Again, that's till 11. Here we are. Supply of alcohol for consumption on the premises. The police are saying 12 midnight, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday is 12:30, Saturday 12:30, and Sunday 11:30. Now that's agreed with the police and environmental health. Anything you want to say about that, Mr. O'Brien or Mr. Crawley?
No, I can't add to that myself.
Okay. Mr.
I've
Crawley?
read the full report.
Okay.
No, I've read the report. No, that's fine.
Okay. Then we get on to recorded music again. As I said, that's something we can't look at. Opening hours, the police are happy with 12:30 for it to be closed. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 1, Saturday at 1, and Sunday at 12. Again, extra hour for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, bank holidays, and the Sunday prior to bank holidays. So those are the hours. say the police are happy with it, so I don't need to speak to the police about it. Garen, you are happy with those hours, is that right?
That's right, yeah, we had a discussion, myself and John, about it, so yeah, we come to that
Okay.
agreement that they were in line with other pubs in the area and things like that, so yeah, we were happy with that.
Okay, so again, going then to Mr. Crowley and Mr. O'Brien, essentially that's what we're looking at. Okay, are you saying that are you happy with those hours that for opening and alcohol?
No, not at all, because it wouldn't be local residents. They'd be coming from town or wherever they are, and then they'd be drinking there. You know, they'd use it as an overspill. We have enough of the clowns, if you like, the youngsters. Once they get the beer goggles on, you can't control them once you leave the premises. I understand you can control them in the premises, that's fine. But then you can't get police or anybody in the area, you know, because obviously they short of manpower. I understand that fully. So it cannot be policed when they leave the premises.
Yeah,
you know,
I
it's
agree.
okay for the police to say, you know, do this, do that, but they can't police it. It's impossible. That's why that sort of license should be in town, not in a residential area with young families and older people.
Okay, thanks for that. You agree with that, Mr. Crowley, yeah?
Yeah, I agree with Gary. Yeah. It's just I've already had bottles. I've had to go and put gloves on to pick up, you know, with COVID and stuff on my doorstep already. You know,
Yeah.
I ain't got a problem. You know, having it to a reasonable time. I got no problem with that. You know, not at all. But just after a certain time, I think, you know, my wife's a nurse as well. You know, we work on sociable hours as well. You know, I just think fair's fair. That's all. You know, I get what Owen's saying and being respectful. I totally agree with that as well. You know,
And I do.
then you can't police people outside. You can't do it. You can't CCTV it either. You know, with that act's been on for donkey's years. You can't do it with that.
You know, you say you've had bottles left on your doorstep and your windows, etc. You know, I don't think anyone's saying that isn't the case. Have they come from the White Horse, or they come from late night drinkers, basically?
I can't prove where it's come from, obviously. Do you know what I mean? But obviously the pub's been open on time this happened, but I can't say it's come from where Owen is and stuff. But I can't say that, you know. But you know, I have no proof for that, you know.
Okay. All right.
I've had one instance where a man's fallen over, smacked his head in my car, and split his head.
I read that.
And things like that, you know. I'm thinking, you know,
if I can just interject for a quick second, in respect of bottles being left on people's doorsteps and everything else like that. In respect to the White Horse, they do not have off sales at the moment, so it wouldn't or shouldn't have been from the premises because they don't do the off sales.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Like I said, I can't prove anything.
What are you saying, that they don't give bottles in the pub and they don't give cans in the pub? Is that what you're saying?
In the pub they can, but
all right.
So
you don't know if they've taken them out.
No, they shouldn't be able to take them out because that would be
So
deemed an
why
off sale.
would they not be able to take them out?
Because they haven't got off sales.
Right, but what's stopping them taking them out? If they pick up a bottle.
Gary, we tell everyone if they've got drinks or whatever, they're not to take bottles out. Also, if they've got a pint and we're trying to have them out, we've got plastic glasses. No glass at all goes out and no bottles go to the pub.
I think that would be impossible to police within a pub myself. You know, if you've got 100 people in there and you've got 2 people sitting in the bar, I don't see how we can police that.
Well, the doors closed.
But that's irrespective. I can't prove it, so that's, you know. But
yeah,
you
know yourself. The pub is closed 11 o'clock. We don't open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at the moment. 10:30, that door is closed, so no one can come in. And we try. It's not a very, very busy pub, so we can monitor what comes and goes out of the pub.
So why do we need extra hours then?
Pardon?
Why do we need extra hours then if it's not a busy pub?
Because a lot of local residents, you know yourself, a lot of pubs, they do after hours. We want to do it all legal. And all the regulars are saying, 11 o'clock, I don't drink a lot because of my driving job, but if I do go out for a drink, I like to stay in a pub till 12 and then go home. 11 o'clock is a bit early. I understand you don't drink yourself, so I can't compare it, but certainly other members probably do, so they can appreciate a 12 o'clock or a 12:30 license is reasonable as long as there's no trouble.
But we can't guarantee the trouble, Owen, can we? That's the problem, isn't it? But I know that. You know what I mean?
But we try and we put up extra CCTV. We've got logs.
Yeah, but that's in the pub. That's not outside. So you were a great guy. Don't get me wrong. I know you're a great guy, right? But you can't control what goes on outside, and that's the problem for late hours.
We've got cameras outside as well, Gary.
But they're only facing the door.
Yeah.
But then you've got Merthyr Labour Club. you've got the Bailey Glass.
But that's in town. That's out of a residential area.
The Bailey Glass is right
the Labour Club is in town.
Yeah.
I know people, I pick up customers from the Labour Club who go up to town, up to Toyn Hill. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's down there. That's not in a residential area, the Labour Club.
I don't want to argue, so I just leave it there.
Okay, can I stop you all here?
Yes,
You know,
sure.
as I said, we try and do
Chairman.
this. We try and do these meetings informally, but I think it's losing a bit of structure, and that's my fault because I started in introducing submissions halfway through. But essentially, Aneurin, in relation to the extra hours that have been agreed between the police, environmental health, and Mr. Lewis, how much extra would he be getting on average? Would you say?
Right, bear with me a second.
Yeah, members, if I can just interject, it's John Roberts. It'll be Monday to Thursday. It'll be an extra hour. On a Friday and Saturday, an extra hour and a half. And on a Sunday, an extra hour.
All right, Monday to Thursday, extra 1 hour.
Yeah.
Then Friday, what is
Friday, Saturday, hour and a half.
Yeah.
And Sunday, an extra hour.
And 1 hour on a Sunday. Okay, that's helpful. Okay, right. And Irene, if I can come back to you now.
Yeah.
So we've got, right, so let's crystallize this down to the fact that basically the police and public health are happy with the extra hour, hour and a half, an hour. The residents are saying that's too late, essentially it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the music, which we can't do anything about. However, there's a request to include the beer garden now as part of the premises license. That's
Yes.
right, yeah?
Yeah.
And of course, if the beer garden is part of the premises license, then it's treated exactly the same way as it would be if it was inside the pub for music. So that would allow music to be played in the beer garden until 2300 hours.
Correct.
And it would allow for drinks to be sold in the beer garden, as opposed to if it's not currently, if it's not part of the premises license, you have to buy your drink in the pub and then
Yes.
take it out to the beer garden. As lots of beer gardens, that's pretty standard, isn't it?
Yeah, what that would be deemed as then is an off sale. So if the beer garden isn't put on the plans, and off sales are allowed for the application, to go from inside to out is an off sale. So that would cover that. If the beer garden is included as part of the whole premises license, then they could have live music, they could have bands, recorded music out there between 8 and 11 with no conditions, no permission or anything required.
Okay. That's essentially another problem we got to deal with today, because again, I think Mr. O'Brien says his garden is 2 meters away from this area.
Yeah, it's not a garden.
You would be concerned that somebody could have live music out there till 11. Yeah. Mr. Crowley, you live slightly further away. It's not an individual concern of yours, is it? That this one? I don't know.
You can still hear in my garden, yes. I'm being honest.
But it wouldn't be the same for you. Okay. Thanks for that. I know Garin from Public Health wants to say something at this point.
Yeah, I was just going to clarify something. Was it 9 o'clock written in the application for the outside, or can we not condition that? I thought it was agreed that the outside space or can we not enforce that?
If the outside space is added to the premises license as a licensed area, you couldn't enforce it.
Right, okay. I didn't know if that was something that Mr. Lewis had agreed to prior.
No, and despite any agreement, he could go beyond that and there'd be no sort of action that could be taken because he would be within the remit of the law.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right. Mr. Lewis, what's your plan? Are you planning to put music in the garden in that area?
No, we only applied for it really because of the music aspect of it, because if there's another COVID outbreak and people have to go outside, we suffered last time because other pubs could play music. With the 10 o'clock during COVID, we enforced it, so we closed the beer garden at 9 o'clock. There's no power outlets at the moment for music to be played outside. So we've got no intention of having live bands or anything out there. It's just to factor in if there's another COVID outbreak in the early afternoon. Music could be played, that's all, you know, background music, like the jukebox, just have something hardwired to go outside. I'd like to be, if I was a resident, I'd like to be, you know, have a quiet life as well. So that's how I look at it. I wouldn't be having no music on after. But I think after 9 o'clock out the back is reasonable. You know, so I don't understand. It's just, I don't understand. We don't want any louder, any more music later or anything, to be honest.
So do you plan to sell alcohol in that area, or would it be sold in the pub and people take their drinks out there?
The beer garden is shut off. There's benches at the moment at 10 o'clock. There's no one out there drinking. It's only open as a non-smoking area. That's all we allow. And that's been gone. I've been there over a year now, and that's how we work it.
Right, so you don't sell alcohol out there. It's bought in the pub, taken out there, and at the moment there is no music out there.
No, we don't. No, nothing at all.
Okay. Obviously, Mr. O'Brien, you would be opposed to that, or would you be happy with if music was played till 9?
Well, as I said, the problem is it's not a garden.
No.
It's an amphitheatre. It's a brick and boulder amphitheatre, that, you know, 2 stories high. So any noise that's there, with smokers going outside, on mobile phones, arguments, language, it resonates. It goes to all the properties. Yeah. And that's a problem. Maybe they could soften the place down, you know, put wooden walls up or something like that. You know,
I've done that already, you guys.
No, you haven't.
There's all new fence panels.
No, you put fencing up, but around the walls where it resonates. I said I've done a lot on the safety side with the noise containment, so I know what I'm talking about there. But no, it resonates. It bounces off the walls and comes out in a direction facing everybody, and that's the problem. That's why I say a site visit with one of your safety people would be a good thing, and then you could say you could then tell them, well, put this here, put this there, and then it'll be acceptable to everybody. Something simple.
Garen, from a public health perspective, what would your view be if that was used for music? Would you have concerns?
I mean, we can only really go off any previous complaints. And to be honest, I've looked at the system in the last 5 years. I haven't got a single complaint against the premise. So if the evidence isn't presenting itself that people have got a noise problem with the pub, then it's very difficult for us to act on, you know, the evidence if we haven't got it, so to speak. So, you know, I haven't been to the premise, i.e. the back of it. I know where it is. I know where people live in relation to it, but I haven't been to the back of the premise to see exactly where the beer garden, smoking area, whatever you want to call it, actually is in relation to people's properties. But I mean, potentially background, you know, music on a jukebox may be acceptable, but you know, until I suppose it presents itself, you know, and it's in use, I suppose we don't categorically know. But again, I haven't had any complaints previously, so all we can go with is say, look, we haven't got any issues or complaints on residents, so there's, you know, we haven't got any concerns to bring it back with the time in. So we can only really go off any previous evidence we've got.
Okay, thank you for that. And Iron, a question from me to you is,
yeah,
obviously there is currently no off sales at the premises, and that doesn't stop the beer garden from being used.
It would normally, but due to the COVID, central government allowed automatic off sales for all licensed premises, so they've been able to utilize it with that. Now that was due to expire 30th of September this year. It's been extended to next year at the moment, but a lot of premises who were able to utilize the automatic off sales are looking and have been submitting variations to have it added onto their license, either as an off sale or the outside area included on the plans for the premises license.
Right. So at the present time, then, as the law currently stands, Mr. Lewis can use that beer garden for customers to drink alcohol out there. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And could he have low-level music played there if he wanted to? No.
No.
No. Okay. All right. So if the government go back to the position it was prior to COVID, then he wouldn't be allowed to use that beer garden. That's right. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So he'd have to then apply for. He'd then have to apply for it to become part of the premises. Okay. All right. Now, Chair, obviously we've taken representations in a piecemeal way. I thought it was the best way to get the conversation going, so we could get these issues out. But of course, you haven't had opportunity to ask any questions that you want. Any questions from members to anyone in particular?
Any members, any questions? Nothing.
I'm happy, Chair.
Yeah, no, I think most of the points have been covered with the conversation so far. So yeah, I'm happy with all the answers I've heard.
Okay. Well, what we normally do at this stage is we give everybody an opportunity to sum up. You know what I mean? I think the main opposition now obviously comes from the residents, Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Crawley. If I start with you, Mr. O'Brien, anything you want to say at this stage, having heard various submissions from Mr. Lewis from the licensing section, anything you want to say for us to take away with us?
Yeah, well, as I say, maybe I start with saying I've lived here since 1972.
Okay.
I'm 69 years old. I've worked underground all my life, retired after 50 years. Unfortunately, I've had a lot of ailments from that. You know, I've had a physical and mental toll through working there. Several cancers. I'm being treated at the moment, and I can do without all the stress and anxiety that the noise would bring to me. It's not going to help my health. And I mean, I'm sure my next door neighbour up as well, you know, she's got cancers and that, and she's been going through treatment. We just don't want it. Like, you know, I've been living here 50 years, and we don't want these extended licenses, you know. We have a residential area with a built-up area. We got young families and elderly like myself, if you like, but we just don't want it. Like, but anyway, I can't say no more than that because you've had my objection letter. But anyway, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Crawley. Anything you want to say over and above what Mr. O'Brien said?
Yeah, it's the same as Gary said. It is like a residential area, you know, and I haven't got no problem with the pub open, say, to midnight and a reasonable sort of time. We even did food, you know, that kind of thing. I got no problem with that. It's just when you go to 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, that kind of thing. I just think we all got jobs to do. So has Mr. Lewis. He got work to do as well. And then I work weekends, you know, my wife's a nurse. Do you know what I mean? We work sociable hours. I don't want to be woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning with people shouting outside and I got to get for work at 5. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. And then my dogs are kicked off. I got to calm my dogs down. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. You know, just I want to sleep as well. You know.
So you think 12 would be a more reasonable cut-off?
I ain't got, you know, 12 o'clock. A lot of places are open at 12 o'clock this day, isn't it? And like Mr. Lewis said, you know, if people want to drink till 12, like that's fair enough. They come out and they're sensible and reasonable and go home, and it's not like a taxi rank out there and things like that, and beeping their horns. Then you know, it's fine. You know, but not till 1 o'clock in the morning. Things like that. I just think, come on, we've all got jobs to do. I got to get up in the morning as well. You know, they wouldn't like if I went outside there, I'll start beating my own or playing AC/DC out on my car, would they? No, not at all. Full blast. You know, it's the same kind of thing, you know. You know, just a bit of respect. You know, I get all that. You know, and I understand it. They want to run a business. I've had a business. I get all that. You know, just want to be fair. You know, equal. You know, and you know, for everybody who lives around here as well, it is a residential area. Bottom line, you know.
Okay.
And people have got to live, you know.
Okay. Mr. Lewis, then.
Yeah.
Can I you to tie this together?
Can I add there with the taxi rank and the beeping? It doesn't happen. I run a taxi business. I either run the customers myself, or I get someone. There's a few taxi drivers they go to the premises and they'll either phone me, or the staff are waiting on looking out on the cameras to have people come out. So that doesn't happen to taxi rank. If you see a taxi outside, it's more or less mine, because I'm back and forth all the time, making sure the pub is running okay, and also running my business and taking the regulars home. Also, with the 11 o'clock at the moment, everyone's got to be out. So if there's 15, 20 people there, they're all coming out at the same time, and there is going to be chat and whatever. So I think a later license would disperse them more evenly, because I think half past 12. I think it was 1 o'clock I went for, but it's a tidy time, 12:30. So that's all I got to say. Apart from, I tried to speak to all the residents. The gentleman next door, I think Gary said, was Vietnamese. He spoke to me tidy English. I asked him about the bands. Every time the band played there, I asked him, is there any noise? Have you heard anything? Never had a complaint. And the White Horse, I shouldn't say it, but before I took it over, they used to close 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm asking for a 12:30, 1 o'clock. That's all I was asking for. And they know how late people used to come from. They shouldn't say it, but that's what it used to be. Because I used to pick up there as a taxi driver, I used to pick people up from it. But there's no picking or anything going on outside, and you can check the cameras for the taxis if you wanted to. Doesn't happen.
Okay. Right. Garen, anything you want to say over and above what you've already said?
No, I don't think so. I think I've covered most of the things. Yeah, just agreement with the police times, really, from our perspective.
Okay. John from the police, anything you want to say in addition?
No, nothing in addition to what the representations I've put in.
Okay. All right. What we'll do now is, I said it's a strange setup doing this on Teams. What we normally do is we would ask everybody to go to a waiting room, and we'd have, I don't know, half an hour where I discuss this with the members, and I would read out the decision and then give the decision in writing. And it's the decision in writing is the key thing. That's when sort of appeal process times start. So I don't know how to play this now, because it's trying to get back onto Teams.
Shall I stop the recording now, Simon?
No, not quite yet. I'm just wondering, would Mr. Lewis, would you be happy just to receive the decision in writing? If I put that together after I liaise with the members, or do you want to hear me read it out?
Oh no, in writing is fine. And if someone from licensing could give me a call back, if you could, just to give me an update, that's all. It'd be great.
Okie doke. I think that makes sense, because what I normally do is I write down the rough decision, all right, and then I relay it, but then I do it properly then in writing. So look, so when we finish now, I'm sure licensing will contact you, and you'll get something from me.
Okay.
And then Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Crawley, I see no reason why we can't send you a copy of the decision as well. Okay. Are you happy for that? I'm just trying to think of it practically without having to keep people hanging around. Yeah. So we could be half an hour, we could be hour and a half. I don't know. So if we've got your addresses, so what we'll do, when I've done the decision for Mr. Lewis, I'll send it to you as well, and obviously to Gary and to the police as well. So we'll ask everyone to leave now. And I'll stay back with the panel, and we'll discuss this case. But thanks for attending. I think we've got all the information we need, both in the written representations that we've got from you all, from the police, from public health, the comments you've made today. I think we got enough to make a decision.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.